Good morning, good morning, good morning, folks. Merry stupid o'clock. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we're going back to that horrible, nonsensical world that is the JRC. But before we get going, the usual disclaimers. In the description box, you're going to find the article you're going to find the article the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It is written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, where they interviewed over 900 ABA professionals as well as surveyed them in regards to the quote-unquote behavioral treatment program at the JRC. In fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from their website. So, folks, it's a small non-for-profit. They don't even make $10,000 a year. So, if they are willing to go that far, folks, there's something in there they don't want you to read. So, please go ahead and make sure that you get it read and send it on all your social media, all right? You're also going to see linked in there NeuroClastic's public statement in regards to the defamation lawsuit threat. And you also have NeuroClastic refused. I'm not awake, folks. Forgive me, alright? Not awake, don't have an edit button. So, you're also going to find the GoFundMe that we started. That was through Greg through Twitter, so that we can crowdfund and assist them should the JRC have the balls to see through their threat. We also have the links in regards to the Agape boarding school situation happening out in Stockton, Missouri. This is a school that takes in quote-unquote troubled male teens because, obviously they're troubled, It's not that they have mental health issues or anything and don't need proper treatment. They just need tough Christian love boot camp. Fucking kill me. Nobody has common sense anymore. Sorry, just my rant. I have a general hate relationship with any concept of sending your kids to a camp to get them in line. It's garbage on the face of it. If there's severe behavioral issues going on, you're better off getting them help through means of an actual doctor as opposed to that garbage. Boot camp is for people in the armed forces, not for your teenage fucking kids. But moving on, they are a Christian themed boarding school for troubled teens. They have, count them, 19 lawsuits, folks, against the school in regards to accusing them of abuse, sexual abuse, and torture and starvation. So, please visit those links as well. Look into that situation. We are still looking to see if Agape has at any point in time tried to defend themselves at all in the media. I've been looking for the court documents too, and I've been coming up empty. So please go to see those links, all right? We also have the other pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including Hoya's massive archive on the subject, the templates, and the ever-present self-explanatory Change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. When we discuss the JRC, folks, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children, please use your headphone. Okay? Blah! Not awake. Obviously, it's 4:08 a.m. in the morning. I'm on schedule for once, but freaking mother of God, I'm not awake, and my brain is not functioning, folks. I have not had my second dose of caffeine. So if I stumble over my words like I already have throughout the entirety of this intro, please, apologies in advance, alright? Plus, we're going back into word salad. Yay! All right, so let's see what else garbage JRC has to say this morning. Regarding number 7 above, at the JRC we practice an ongoing in vivo functional analysis. Instead of collecting data on the functions, causes of behaviors only at certain discrete points, by doing some analog tests or rating scales prior to selecting an intervention, and then selecting intervention on basis of those tests and rating scales. Okay, if that's the results of your tests are, let's torture them, I want to see the tests. If you actually do any kind of homework at all to figure out what's triggering those behaviors before you automatically snap that fucking device on them, I would like to see it. Because once again, folks, I don't take their word for it. They are known to withhold evidence in police investigations, in federal investigations, and from the fucking UN themselves. So if you do actually look for what's triggering the behavior, if you actually try to figure that out, I want proof. Not just your word for it. And that's the thing, folks. I live in a fucking society now that the whole concept of me wanting proof somehow makes me the fucking bad guy. Me wanting proof for anything, whether it be AH versus JD or whatever. Is this the death of logic? Because if it is, shoot me. Moving on. We collect behavior data daily and are constantly examining our behavior data to test various assumptions that our clinicians are constantly making about functions and to directly and continually assess the functions of behaviors, stimuli, and various interventions. Oh, for fuck's sake. Here we go. But we try to figure out what function is it serving and why you're doing it, okay? If that is true, why are you putting them on a fucking shock device? If you are actually doing your due diligence and your job, and are trying to figure out what's triggering these behaviors, why the fuck are you sleep depriving them, starving them, shocking them, and using your bizarre behavioral rehearsal lessons? Make it make sense. Because your interventions do not make sense. They are inhumane beyond all reason. You can't tell me you are taking a science medical approach and this is what you come up with. I'm going to need you to prove it. I'm going to need this on paper. On paper, JRC. Not your word for it. On paper. I want proof. And then I want you to fucking defend the interventions your asses have come up with. Defend it. Tell me how that is supposed to help anything. Just saying. If we suspect that a certain event is rewarding the problem behavior, we remove that from the treatment and see if the charted behavior shows a drop in the behavior's frequency as a result. So you're trying to see if a particular behavior, we find it rewarding. Oh my God. So let me go ahead and explain something to you, JRC. Most of the behaviors that I have, and the most of us autistics have, they do have a purpose. It's self-regulating, a good majority of them. The other behaviors that come out are due to meltdown. So what am I talking about self-soothing, self-regulating? I'm talking about stims, folks. And this is something that our folks with ADHD on this channel, they would be able to tell you as well. We all have these stims. And these stims act as a way and a means for us to self-regulate and calm the fuck down. JRC doesn't understand that. ABA doesn't understand that. No, they are so focused on making us at least appear on the outside to be normal. They don't give a shit about the benefits of stimming or the fact that it comes from our neurology. And when we hold that down to make you all more fucking comfortable, it's one of the many things that you all do that it sends us spiraling into fucking burnout. Now let's talk about meltdowns. This, especially in autism, is where you're going to see the most self-injurious behavior and outward violent behavior towards others. By the time we've hit meltdown, that's the ball game, folks. It's over. There is no logical thinking at that point. None. It doesn't take fucking rocket science to understand that when we are in meltdown, we are not in control. Which means, boys and girls, that's when the self-injurious behavior comes out. That's when violence toward inanimate objects come out. That's when violence towards other people, although not intentional, comes out because we have been completely and utterly overwhelmed. So one would think that the logic would be, instead of waiting for us to fucking snap and then punishing us for something over which we have no fucking control, that you would try to look at a person. If you observe an autistic person, there are signs that a meltdown is imminent. And you can, without torture, JRC, actually prevent a meltdown if you know the signs and start talking or finding out what's triggering it. What's happening? What is overwhelming them? What can we do to provide reasonable accommodations? Do they need to go outside for a minute? What needs to be done? And you can stop it in its tracks. Sometimes. Sometimes it's just a little too overwhelming and there's no going back. But good majority of the time, if you know what those signs are, if you pay attention, you can stop the cycle before it gets to meltdown and the self-injurious behavior happens. Just saying. Now, here we go. If we think a certain event, if added to a treatment plan, can increase the effectiveness of the reward program, we add it and see how that affects the behavior as we're trying to reward. For fuck's sake. It's this idiocy that they're trying to make sound like science, folks, but it's not fucking science. It's garbage. It's fucking Pavlov. You are literally taking autistic people and treating them with the treatment of Pavlov. You're training us like we're fucking animals. It's the most insulting and condescending part of fucking ABA to me. We are human beings. And setting up this so-called reward system, that doesn't set us up for the real world. It doesn't set us up for the real world or reality at all. Because guess what? In the real world, it's not stick and carrot. You're not always rewarded for good behavior. You're not always punished for bad behavior. Nothing that this place does prepares kids for the real world once they get out of that hellhole. All it does is fucking traumatize them and groom them and set them up to be victims of abuse for their entire lives if nothing is done and intervention isn't sought immediately after leaving this hellhole. Moving on. And so on, the charted data are direct observations, and the DVR monitoring system, among other sources, give us data to support or reject our hypothesis about the functions of behaviors, stimuli, and various interventions. I'll say it again for the people in the back. The JRC act like they care about alternative interventions. They do not. And they've already proved in this document that they do not. They have no idea the function or how to put into practice positive behavioral reinforcement. Their idea is you get a token or get a cookie, earn that cookie or that pizza party. Not what positive behavioral reinforcement is, folks. Not at all. Also, they don't seem to understand that positive behavioral reinforcement is usually used on a specific population of us. It's usually those of us with dual diagnoses, those with learning disabilities, as well as having autism. Specifically supposed to be used for that. Oh, but the JRC wants to tell you the cookie cutter approach works better than everything. A good majority of us are put on person-centered plans or very similar. At least out here they are, unless they're stuck in that Agape boarding school hell. What they're doing there makes no sense. If you are actively seeking to find out what is triggering the behaviors, what is causing the spiral that inevitably goes into meltdown, then why is there a need for a fucking shock device designed to cause harm to be placed on these kids? If we're looking for actual other interventions, of which there are many, I might add, if we're really looking for reasonable accommodations so that we can bring the behaviors down to a minimum, why the fuck are we starving these kids? Why are we making them have to earn every single bite of food? If we're looking in what's causing these behaviors, why in the name of God are you having these behavioral rehearsal lessons? Because it does not make coherent medical sense. It's pseudoscience, JRC. It's pseudoscience. And if you want to know one of the biggest fucking killers of autistics and other disabled people out in the world, it's pseudoscience. Bar none. Bar none. And on that note, folks, I'm going to go ahead and close out this morning. We don't get very many views on this channel, especially on this subject. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time this morning. And as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Have a great day, y'all. Blah. God, I said y'all. It's morning. Bye-bye, everyone.